Welcome everyone, this is the Jenkins Platform SIG meeting, and today we're on June 17, 2025. Around the virtual table today we have Kevin Martins, Mark Waite, and Birajit. Thanks for being here. On the agenda today, lots of things. I hope we'll be able to cover most of them. Of course, we'll talk about the latest changes in the Docker images. We'll talk about Java 25, maybe Java 21, just a little bit. What's new in the what's current in the Jenkins controller and agent image? What are we working on? And if we still have some time, a few words about Android, RISC-V, and Firefox. Anything you would like to add to the agenda, folks?
Actually, Kevin and I were having a conversation about recent change in the Firefox support
Yeah,
policy, or is it already on your list and I missed it?
I think it's the last item, right?
Okay.
Or is it big enough, by the way,
Yes,
Mark?
yes, that's great. It's fine. Yep. Move.
Okay.
Yes, that's the last. Perfect. That's good.
Thank you. So a few weeks ago, I saw some posts about Alma Linux having a new LTS version called Pearl Lion. So I was all excited to, oh, we have to change everything in the controller in order to deal with that new version. But I had forgotten that we had already removed the support of Alma Linux. So my bad. So I found it maybe too late. In fact, what puzzled me is that there was no note in the Jenkins Platform SIG meetings related to this removal. So that's why I did something terrible. I added a comment on a commit on GitHub, and Damien said, "What are you doing in there?" I said, "Yeah, my bad. My GitHub search skills aren't that good." But in any case, now we have a note in the Jenkins Platform SIG meeting that say that, yes, we got rid of Alma Linux. So you don't have to get excited when Alma Linux has a new LTS. We just don't care that much. But you're doing a great job, Alma Linux. That's not my point. Next one is the Jenkins infrastructure move to JDK 21. Because until recently, we used to build all our binaries with JDK 17, but well, we've been using JDK 21 or advocating for JDK 21 for a while. Lots of documentation have been migrated to JDK 21. Thanks a lot, Kevin, by the way. So maybe it was time to build with JDK 21. Nonetheless, we are still producing bytecode compatible with JDK 17. And I know I already asked you the question a few months ago, Mark, and I will ask it again. Sorry, my memory is a golden fish memory. I think we won't move to JDK 21 bytecode until maybe next year, right?
Right. Yeah, my expectation is roughly March of next year. Our next big milestone is Java 25 support, but that won't be until September when they release it. And then, yeah, 4 or 6 months later, we'll switch to no longer deliver Java 17. It's part of the transition phase as we get to real 2+2+2.
So far, I have only spotted, but I didn't put the link in there, one issue maybe linked to that switch to JDK 21. It is linked to the Javadoc, if I'm not mistaken, but I think some people are working on it, so we should be good with that. Did any one of you see any other people complaining about something that changed with that switch to the JDK 21? I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, and that one issue that you note, we're not even sure that it is related
Easily.
to Java 20 and
Yeah.
transition at all. It's
Wild gap.
we have working Javadoc again now. We had working Javadoc before. We're fine.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Uh-huh.
Now, Java 25. So Xamarin has been supplying JDK 25 early access release for a while now, and we have new releases every 2 weeks or so. So it's supposed to be a general availability around September or October. So we have to install them or prepare the work in order to be able to install it when it's ready. And when it's ready for real general availability, we'll have to test Jenkins, the core, the plugins, and all the infrastructures with JDK 25. So we are doing some preliminary work. And when I say we, it's the infra team, because I'm helping just a little bit, but that's all. So the task is progressing earlier. But we have to do some preliminary work in order to refactorize, clean up, and prepare for that move. So that's why also it's kind of slow, because there is a lot of work to do ahead of installing JDK 25 preview. So we're not done yet. We try to track, difficult to say, the progress of the 200 and something most installed plugins with JDK 25. Unfortunately, I don't have the right Maven command to build them, so most of them fail on my machine. Most of them fail. Some of them have a timeout for whatever reason, and some of them aren't even using a Jenkins file, so that's why they can't even build. I can't remember where it is, but nonetheless. Mark, I think you have something way better than that, right? A magical MVN command that helps with building some of them.
Allegedly, and I haven't dug it out and haven't had time to dig it out. So yes, I've got to keep looking.
It's still around 10 or so on your 20 plugins.
Yeah, it's somewhere in my history that there was a time when I successfully did it and I found the right things to switch off. You have to stop doing spotless. You have to stop doing what are the other ones? You have to stop doing anything that uses ASM, right? So it's spotless and spot bugs and two or three others.
Yeah, because spotless and spot bugs weren't enough for me, so that's why I'm asking. Thanks, Mark. We'll find it one of these days, and that will be good. Thank you. Any question or remark on what we've just seen? No, thank you. So next, container measure update for the Jenkins controller. So we had a new LTS to 504.2 that was released 3 weeks ago. The release candidate for the next one was published a few days ago, June 13th. And the final release is for next week on Wednesday. We'll see. As far as I know, Mark, there aren't that many changes in the .3, right? It's just dependencies changing, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
correct.
So that's not a huge backport. As for the weeklies, yes, we weren't there 2 weeks ago, so quite a lot of weeklies have changed lately. But there is one breaking change. So we talked about that earlier. We now use JDK 21 to build the weeklies. And as for the usual suspect, we have dependency updates on Bookworm, UB9, and Alpine Linux. Yeah, sorry. My bad. I said something wrong, right?
Yeah, well, for me, that is not a breaking change.
It was labeled as such, but I'm okay with that.
Interesting. Okay. So, well, wait a sec. I take it back. I know why we labeled it a breaking change. It was in the Docker container images. That's the place. And that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Right. My mistake. Sorry. So it was, if you don't ask for things that are precise enough, we will give you something different than you got before. My mistake.
That's okay. Thank you, Mark. And the last one was a new feature of a pre-clear init groovy minz, which adds the ability to pre-clear the init.groovy.d repository before putting some script in it, for example, before Jenkins starts. Now, for the Jenkins agent, we've had 3 new releases and only dependency updates. And I think we already talked about this one 1 month ago. Patch to support audit the login UID by Kenneth, which has been finally merged. Thanks, Kenneth, and thanks, Damien, for the review and merge. For the Docker agent, also, of course, 3 new releases and dependency updates as always, and also the run update CLI once a day, which doesn't change anything for the end user. It's just that we will have some updates more regularly than having to wait 1 week if ever we were to have a JDK update with bug fixing, for example. As for the work in progress on images, nothing on the controller. On the Docker agent, Hervé is still working quite a lot on add a Windows test on long path with Git. I've saw quite a few commits today. And we also have, yes, Mark? No.
Git 2.50.0 says it fixes it. That's why he's working on it.
Okay.
So if you look in the change log for Git 2.50.0 that just released relatively few days ago, they have a change, and the change is increasing the size of a buffer.
Oh. GitLab. No, we won't see that. I guess.
Yeah, you may want to look at the Windows. It's okay. We don't need to show it here, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's the Windows. The Windows port was the one, but it might be mentioned in the others as well.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. And the last one is the As support Linux for JDK 25. I'm not done yet with this one. I still have to work on it. Any questions or remarks, comments, anything? Still good to go. Okay. Now, Android. Yeah. So we can run Jenkins on Android. Not that anybody asked for that, but nonetheless, I wrote down a blog post that Kevin was kind enough to review because it was kind of long. And so we can now see Jenkins working on an Android phone because why not? That's also the subject of talk I will be giving in Brittany at the end of the month. Now, RISC-V. A few months ago, we participated in the RISC-V dev board program. We already got a machine from this program, but unfortunately, Docker doesn't work on this machine. It has a non-functioning kernel, I would say. At least the kernel is not configured to get Docker running. So that was a failure. Then we got a machine through the Cloud5 initiative, which allowed access to a RISC-V machine, and particularly a Banana Pi F31. So the goal was to build a Jenkins controller and agent Docker images, and try to have a running Jenkins controller and agent through Docker on this machine. Unfortunately, it was kind of difficult to have the right credential, the right permission and so on the machine. So that was not a failure, but not a success either. So I went back to the RISC-V dev board program and got a card for real. So I now have the machine. I received it last Saturday. And the goal is to, once again, try to get Docker running on this machine and try to build Jenkins Docker container images. And for the being, it's not a success yet. Time will come. The problem is the RISC-V ecosystem is still in its infancy, I would say. And for example, we have an old version of Docker running on this machine, but it's difficult to rebuild a newer version of Docker because Docker uses Docker to build Docker. Why not? And lots of the images that Docker uses to build itself are not yet ported to the RISC-V ecosystem. So I've been modifying lots of things to get it to work, and it's not working yet. So it will take months before we have a working Jenkins controller and or agent on RISC-V. I thought it would be easier than that. No, not that time. Anyhow, this could be accelerated maybe when Debian will issue Trixie Docker image for RISC-V 64. There won't be any Debian RISC-V 64 Docker image. They won't supply it. There are some compatibility issues, so we'll have to wait until Trixie. And we've been told that Trixie should be out in the middle of 2025. And guess what? We're already in June, so it should be these days or maybe next month. We'll see. So while we are changing all our Docker bake files, trying to get to Trixie, maybe we'll do the move to RISC-V 64. You never know. Just a wild guess. I don't know what will happen. We'll see. Anyhow, I made no promise, but I was thinking of making RISC-V 64 a first-class Jenkins citizen by the end of the year. But I think I was daydreaming. Any question or remarks on this subject?
Just to note that I've seen clear evidence that the Debian 13 is very, very close to release because they go through a transition period on the unstable and the testing branch where I can no longer tell the difference between the unstable and testing branch in the final release. They've gone through that transition a few weeks ago. The platform labeler plugin that I maintain has tests in it that look for that kind of thing. And those tests, the test data started showing, it's getting very, very near a release. So yes, we're not long away from Debian 13 releasing. Now, they don't promise a release date, etc. So I don't know when, but we're not far away.
Yeah, I saw some parts of the code were frozen or something like that. So we are approaching, definitely. And speaking on platform live Mark, I do love this plugin. And it was also puzzled when I ran it on my Android Jenkins controller. It was saying undefined, undefined. What is this thing? That was funny. Because, of course, you didn't enter any information about Android in this plugin, right? Yeah, of course. Nobody does that kind of things. But there is still hope, by the way, because Alpine already supplies RISC-V container images. So maybe we'll have something in the coming weeks. Anyhow, that was all I had to say about RISC-V. Now, let's move to Firefox SR to Level 2 support. So there was, I don't know who started that, by the way. Mark, would you tell us about that, a summary about it? Also, it was Tim. Okay.
Yeah, so the story goes like this. We received a bug report in Jenkins Jira that said, hey, with the Firefox extended support release, the new way of specifying colors with OKLCH doesn't work. And Tim looked at it and said, yep, that Firefox version is 2+ years old, and Firefox extended support release is the only one of those things like it in our platform support document. All the others only talk about current release and current release -1. So Firefox ESR was a special case, and Tim said, look, it took us months for anybody to find any issue, and there is an issue, and we're not going to fix it in the sense of removing our use of OKLCH. No way are we going to switch back to the old way of doing colors. We've moved forward because all the modern browsers support it. And so Tim's comment was, hey, let's admit that this is a level 2 thing, not a level 1. And that for me is a very, very sensible approach. So the pull request was proposed. It was reviewed by Alex Brandes and Chris Stern, who both approved it. Devin Nussbaum has clarified in a separate conversation that he was only trying to approve one subset of the thing when he in fact approved the whole pull request. But for me, this is the exact right thing. And Jan Farachik says he agrees. So
Yeah.
I think it's the right choice. We don't test Firefox ESR at all. And so having it be level 1, but we don't test it is I think is a mistake.
Yeah, now I get it. Thank you, Mark. And for people wondering, why are you talking about Firefox in the platform SIG meeting? Because it is somehow a platform. Yeah, of course it is.
Not just somehow, it's back to the OpenBSD developers who have observed that many things are being done in browsers now that used to be done in operating systems, right? Like email clients. Oh, yeah. Oh, like you fill in the blank, right? Spreadsheets and presentation software, and the browser is the new operating system for end user applications. Yep.
It is. Yeah, remembers me of the famous, the network in the computer, but it was a long, long time ago. Previous century. Yeah, I'm that old, Mark.
Yeah, that boy, Scott McNeely, that's the way. Wow, didn't know people still remembered that.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for making this issue much more clear for me. Folks, would you have any comments or question or any other subject you would like to discuss today? Okay, sounds like we can wrap it up then. That was pretty efficient today. Thanks a lot for your time. The video should be available from 24 to 48 hours on our YouTube channel. Until then, happy, what do we say, Jenkins? No, that can't be said. Nevertheless, have fun with Jenkins and see you 2 weeks from now. Bye-bye.
But
And now let me try to find the right button. Mark, if you have the right, don't hesitate to stop the recording.
And I don't apparently, so that's okay. If you just end the meeting, it'll stop the recording.
Oh, that will do. I found it. Oh, Zoom, I don't like you. Bye-bye.
Bye.